All right, good morning, guys. If I've done my math right, you guys should have this should be the first lesson that you guys see while I'm gone. So the way this is going to work, you guys come in every day, do your do now question. Then right after the do now, we'll sit there and go, I'll go over the answer with you guys. And then we'll go in for the lesson for the day, go over some notes, explain a few things. There's a few videos scattered here and there throughout. And you guys will end most days with an exit slip. Just keep things pretty simple. So, the do now you should have for today was, in your own words, explain how the term normal means, what the term normal means, and provide examples. Also, explain how this word changes depending on the time and place it's used. So, chances are you guys came with a bunch of different explanations or a bunch of different definitions. Everything from, oh, normal means, oh, I fit in with people, or hey, I fit in with the crowd, I don't really go against the grain, I'm basically what's typical of a certain area. And so a couple ways that this can vary depending on where you're at. What could be the normal thing to do here could be very abnormal to do somewhere else. So for instance, pointing at somebody, pointing around, looking at this, it's very common here, we do it all the time. However, if you go somewhere else around the world, even around this country, it can be seen as offensive, or it can be seen as a different kind of gesture. And so really normal is more a relative term. It changes based on your perspective and where you're at. So today we'll be starting a new unit. It's nothing too crazy, but something kind of mild to kind of get us used to the whole video lesson thing. So let's jump right in. I'm just going to kind of do some overlap. If you guys had me for sociology, there's going to be a bit of overlap here, but we're going to kind of tie it into psychology as best we can. So first term we're going to cover for today is something called social norms. Like I said, if you guys haven't before, some of these will be very familiar, so do me a favor to kind of help those who didn't take sociology the best you can if they have any questions. So social norms. Things that are usual within a certain society and are identified as being good, right, and important. So once again, social norms. I get a second marker here. Things that are usual within a certain society and are identified as being good, right, and important. So things that are usual. So things that are not unusual, meaning they see them maybe every day, every other day. They're a typical thing in society. It's the normal routine. It's the normal way of doing things. Oh, it's normal to wear these kinds of clothes as opposed to these kinds of clothes. Hey, it's normal to eat this type of food and this, not this kind of food. So just whatever the normal thing is in the society. So, for example, here in the U.S., let's say we sit down for and eat dinner at, say, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night. Or in some places, some cultures, some people eat earlier, some people eat later. That's just the normal thing to do. Maybe it's because people get off work later, or maybe it's because their day starts later or starts earlier. Just little things here and there that can that show slight variations in different cultures and different peoples. So, social norms. Next thing we're going to cover is something called conformity. Once again, hopefully for most of you guys, this term should be somewhat review. And if you haven't taken me in the past for sociology, hopefully this term is not totally unfamiliar to you. So conformity. A change in a person's behavior to coincide more closely with a group standard. And so once again, conformity, a change in a person's behavior to coincide closely with a group's standard. Well, that term standard could be swapped out with a group's norm, the normal thing to do, the standard thing to do. It's all pretty much interchangeable. So, a change in a person's behavior. So, if they are practicing conformity, if they are conforming, that means they are changing something about them, the way they do things, their routine, the way they dress, in order to essentially fit in with a particular group. So, coincide more closely, it's just a fancy word for saying, hey, they are getting closer to what that is. Oh, I start wearing these types of clothes more and more and more until it becomes a norm for me. And so, here at school, you're expected to conform to a certain standard of clothing. You guys are required to wear uniforms every day. You guys are required to act a certain way when you're in this environment. You are being forced to conform in order to participate and be here and be a part of this particular school. And obviously, in different other places, it's different. So, go ahead and hit pause for just a second. There should be a video in the notes here. Go ahead and play that, and we'll get back to notes in just a second. All right, so just another kind of video, just kind of explaining, emphasizing what we've talked about, and kind of leading in what we're just going to be discussing next. Next up, the term is obedience. Obedience is behavior that complies or agrees with the explicit like meaning specific or directly told, demands of the individual in authority. So if any of you guys have pets, you can send dogs and maybe cats, I'm not sure, through something called obedience school or obedience training, essentially getting them to, hey, learn to take your commands, learn to listen to you, come when you call, things like that. If you think maybe from a parenting perspective, if a child is being obedient, that means they're doing what their parents tell them to do. Or if they're being disobedient, it means they're going, against what their parents told them to do. So, behavior that complies or agrees with the explicit or the specific demands of the individual in authority. So, if they're practicing obedience, they're doing what they're told, essentially. If they're being disobedient, they're not doing what they're told. So, this last one, I guess I could have put this after conformity, but it's fine. We have nonconformity. This is the failure or refusal to conform to a prevailing rule or practice. So, just a fancy way of saying I am not conforming. I am not adhering to the group standard. I am being outside the norm. I'm being outside the standard. I am choosing to do something else. I'm choosing not to conform. So, at the end of the day, what's the point of all this? How does this really apply to psychology? So, you think about it from a couple different ways. First off, social norms, conformity, it's stuff we experience every single day. It influences our decisions. It influences how we think, the decisions we make, how we interact with people. So basically, if you're not looking to get in trouble, you're not looking to really rock the boat or whatever, you might practice conformity and obedience. However, some people feel they're outside that norm. They feel like they're outside that the societal, okay, this is the way things are supposed to be. They could be seen as non-conformist, or I'm not going with the grain, or I'm not adhering to social norms. And so this really ties into how we make our decisions. Okay, do we decide to go along with the crowd, or do we decide to not go along with the crowd? Do we decide to make our decisions based off, oh, this is safe, I've seen it before, lots of people have done it, or hey, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try something that everybody around me is doing differently. And so later on, that can lead to either good things and or bad things. Oh, it's great, I discovered a new way of doing this. Oh, it's bad because now I'm ostracized, or everybody around me doesn't like me because I'm not doing what everybody's supposed to be doing. And so I'm seen as an outcast. I'm not in the in-group, or however you guys want to put it. So I'll step away for just a second. If you need to hit pause, you get the rest of these notes copied down, feel free. You guys' exit slip for the day. Provide and explain 2 examples of social norms that you notice in your everyday life and or in the real world, and why do they exist? So, 2 examples of social norms that you see in your everyday, day-to-day life, and why do they exist? Why is that norm in place? Why does it matter? So, that'll be it for the day. Finish the exit slip. Get everything else turned in, your do now and whatnot, and I'll see you for tomorrow's lesson.